I am here at Urraca Park in Uracinco, Calle Uracinco. Yeah, something like that. I probably butchered the fuck out of that pronunciation. And yes, I know I butcher these Spanish terms. I know a lot of you are like, no, Caleb, you said that incorrectly. It's pronounced like, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I mean, thanks, pal. You're a big help. It is raining here. It's the wet season, so there's a lot of lightning and thunderstorms, which is pretty cool, actually. I like watching lightning and thunderstorms from my hotel room. It's pretty cool, pretty neat. A lot of traffic. As usual, the traffic here is terrible, but as I've noted on my blogs, traffic is terrible everywhere in the world. No one can figure out traffic. Human beings just don't have the ability to figure out traffic for some reason. Even the Chinese, even the Asians can't figure this out. All right, so what's happened in the last day or two? So first thing is I had to go back to the bank and get my bank account set up. And the way it works, thank you very much. The way it works is that you have they honk a lot here. They honk a shitload. There's the traffic right there. Not as bad as Shanghai or New York, but pretty close in terms of how often they honk here. They honk a lot. It's part of their culture. They're very nice people, so they don't get angry when they honk like New Yorkers or like Shanghaiers, but they honk a lot. Anyway, so I had to set up the bank account for me, required for residency at, I can't give you the name of the bank, but I had to set it up at the bank, and I had to do a wire transfer from one of my banks in the U.S. to this bank, and cute. A lot of distractions here, sorry. So I called my bank and said I need to do a wire transfer, and they said, sure, we can do that in about a week. I said, well, yeah, I need to do this next, 1 to 2 business days. Long story short, couldn't do it. So I talked to one of my other banks. I had several banks, and long story short, I could give you the details, really can't. Wasn't able to happen as soon as I wanted it to happen. So I'm gonna have to do some rejiggering of my bank accounts when I get back to the United States, so I can do international wire transfers, which are SWIFT transfers, using a SWIFT code. I'm gonna have to do that when I get back, so I don't have this problem in the future. So anyway, what I had to do was take my debit cards, my United States debit cards, and I have several of them, and go to a bunch of ATMs and withdraw the money. I needed about, what did I need? $1,500 cash, and US and Panamanian money are the same. So they actually use US dollars down here. So I had to go to a bunch of ATMs and make some withdrawals, and the maximum limit is like $400, $400 or $500 depending on the card. I have multiple accounts with multiple debit cards, so thank God I was able to do that. So over the course of 2 days, I had to run around a bunch of ATMs, get a bunch of cash, then I had to go back to the bank, hand them a big pile of cash and say, here you go, use this to deposit instead of a wire transfer, because my stupid US banks are not cooperating, so here's your cash. So I am now a proud owner of a Panamanian savings account, and the savings account, the savings interest rates here, 2%. For an American, it's great, As I said on a prior video, in America it'd be a fraction of 1%, Europe would be negative. So anyway, that's done, but it was a kind of a hassle driving around and going back and forth to the bank and fucking with ATMs. But it's again the type of hassle that I assumed would happen. Nothing has happened in terms of the problems of setting up my residency here that I did not anticipate. I anticipated a lot of little problems. So that was the first thing. So the next thing is this morning, I had to go to immigration, Panamanian immigration, and the attorneys actually set me up with a guy there. And so me and another guy, another client of the attorney firm, the law firm, we both took an Uber out there, and a really nice guy, and I started talking to him, and I said, so you planning on moving to Panama? He's like, yeah, eventually. I said, well, what are your objectives here? What do you want to do? He's like, he's an American from Colorado, and he said, and I quote, I'm tired of paying tax on top of tax on top of tax. This is a very intelligent, hardworking entrepreneur. This is a good guy, and the United States is slowly pushing those people away because of excessive taxes and regulations and bullshit. And I believe the number is that the number of people who are renouncing their American citizenships has more than tripled in the last several years. Okay? Tells you something. So this is another example of the guy. By the way, this ends up being a red pill guy who actually went to the 21 convention, not the one I spoke at, but as soon as I told him about red pill stuff, he's like, oh yeah, oh my gosh. Kind of fun. Nice guy. So we were there for about, using the attorneys, this is another thing, using the attorneys allowed us to cut through a lot of the lines. Had I not used the attorneys, I probably would have been there literally all day. And I mean it, probably twice. I probably would have had be there all day and then go back the next day. Instead, we were there about 2.5 hours, which I consider good. I mean, I was planning on spending 4 hours there. 2.5 hours. Again, we're dealing with governments. And so when you deal with governments, you have to do a lot of fucking around. So we had to do some fucking around. And the attorney representative who was taking care of us and doing all the translating, he would stand in multiple lines. He would bribe a few people. And so finally we got both of us, we got our immigrations registered. So that doesn't actually mean anything. It's just they register your passport so you can do other things with it. So the next stage when I come back here in a few months will be to actually begin the process of approval of residency, which takes several months. So this was step one in a, of course, long process. So that's pretty much it for what I have to do here in Panama. It is Friday, and I'm going to have to, I have the weekend, which I'll be working, and then I head off to Paraguay next Tuesday. But I'm pretty much done in terms of running around and doing things in Panama now, even though I'm here for another 3 or 4 days. That's really about it. So maybe a few more video updates from Panama, and then after that I'll be updating you from Paraguay, where I do this exact same process except in Paraguay, and it'll be interesting to see the differences between Panama and Paraguay, two very different countries. Panama is a very first world country. It's like it's the Hong Kong of the Latin world. It's a big fancy, it's some buildings back there, kind of. It's a big city. It's a big modern city. Here you go. It's a big modern city. Unlike Asuncion, which I'm heading to next week, which is a very tiny third world city in the middle of nowhere. So you'll see what I mean when I get there.